shoot going.
Yeah, you should get a shoot going.
I was getting a shoot going.
Let's talk about the shoot design.
Into the bed of the truck. Well, I've seen a sweet shoot design.
I've never made a shoot before.
Either have I.
Welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics that is aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. I'm Justin. I'll be your host. I'm joined by editorial director Rob Yagid.
Hey, Justin.
Hello. And design editor Brian Pontolilo.
Hey, guys.
Hi. It's a lovely day for potting. Is that what you call it? Is this a pod?
Podding or podcasting?
I got yelled at with the blog post thing by our inimitable web producer Mike Alterio, who
Get yelled at for what?
Well, I was calling what is a blog post a blog.
Yes, I remember.
And he's like, "Can I just stop you right here? Let's have a conversation about this, about what a blog is versus a blog post." But anyway, so I don't want to get podcast wrong.
Well,
Maybe this is a pod.
We'll have to ask Sam if you can use podcast as a verb.
Yeah, we need to get the copy editor up here.
For me, it's a noun.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it into a verb. We'll just say talking. We're here. It's a lovely day for talking.
It's a lovely day for talking.
Yes.
There you go.
Before we get rolling, let me remind you of our email address, fhbpodcast@taunton.com, where you can send us your questions and topics for discussion. And also a reminder, you can get a full look at the show notes for this and every episode at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. And if you visit now, I believe there's still time, right, Rob? If you visit now, you can fill out a little survey and you'll be in the running to win an Amazon Echo. finehomebuilding.com/podcast.
We talked about the Echo last time.
We did.
We got to
We'll
leave
talk
it
about it
alone
more.
this time.
Finally, we're on video as well. So check out our YouTube channel. You can check out the video on our site at that same web address. And once again, you can not only hear us talk, but see us talk. Please do not touch my coffee, sir.
So I got a text from an old friend the other day, college buddy. I talk to once in a while, but not that much. And it just said, "Look at these dweebs," and it had a link. And I clicked the link, and it was our first video.
How did was he already listening to the
I have
show?
no idea how he found it so fast.
That's great.
But he was right on top of it.
Yeah, we are dweebs.
For sure.
Yeah. In fact, our first question today is from Jared. And he wrote, "Hey team, first of all, thank you for some very informative podcasts. I'm more of a woodworker, but I bought an 1890s duplex, so fine home building is now right up my alley. But holy shit, you nerds can and will talk all day about sheathing and wall technology, even if it's totally unrelated to what the main topics are. Can we take a 5-episode break from sheathing?" No, we cannot, Jared.
In fact, we're going to get to it when we get to your project in just a moment, buddy.
Yeah. We have a policy here. It's all sheathing all time. Yes, we are nerdy. I think what may have put Jared over the top. He didn't say this, but it was probably that panel siding discussion. I think we lost a lot of audience there.
Yes. What did Diami Plotke say? He called it intellectually
Curious?
amusing.
Or something like intellectually
that, yeah.
amusing, yeah. It's
Yeah.
a good one.
But
We got
I
a
think
little-
implying that it wasn't all that helpful.
Oh, it wasn't.
I think we lost our way a little bit in that conversation.
It was
Like half hour.
sometimes
We didn't even know what we were talking about at some point.
sometimes it becomes listen to Justin, Brian, and Rob figure something out, talk it out until they come to a conclusion.
It's a good time.
But that one dragged out a little bit because we had some disagreement about the assembly. Brian came out hot and heavy with his solution, which I tend to agree with, but Rob didn't.
Let's not revisit.
Rob didn't agree with it, so we had to go over it for a long time. Anyway, Jared says, "Now that I've ingratiated myself to you, I do want to get all of your opinions, even Brian's, on what I should do with my garage. It's an extra deep 2-car garage, about 22 foot wide, 35 foot deep, with only a quarter of the garage having a very old, uneven, and crumbling foundation. The rest of the garage seems to have been built on decking with planks over it. As you'd probably imagine, quite a bit of settling has occurred and the plank floor is nowhere near level. If money wasn't an issue, I'd do a full teardown, have a foundation properly poured, after much excavation no doubt, and build a sweet timber frame garage. Since I'm on a budget and the garage structure itself isn't in that bad of shape, I'm considering what might be a crazy idea that I wanted to get your take on. Jared, crazy ideas is what we do here. I'm so thankful for your question. Keeping it interesting. So Jared's thinking of pouring. He said 4, 6, or 8 footings. I assume that means that he did not mean feet, right? That he actually thinks like I'm going to pour either 4 or 6 or 8 individual footings. Is that how you're reading it, guys?
That's how I'm reading it. Yeah.
And erecting a timber frame inside of the current garage.
So a footing at each corner and maybe 2 to support the ridge?
I guess. I'll erect the timber frame to entirely support the structure and then dig out the decking. Do the excavation and put either a gravel or concrete floor in there. Am I crazy or crazy like a fox? Love Jared. He didn't say that.
Let's get Brian's opinion first.
Yeah,
That's
what he asked for.
Since he actually
Since he's
invited
going to
you.
allow me to offer my opinion.
Brian, why don't you take this one? So basically, we got a really old, cruddy garage that's built poorly, and I would argue that it's not
Solid.
that the structure itself isn't in good shape if the foundation is crumbling.
So I'm with you, Justin. That the crazy ideas are fun, and we're all certainly guilty of trying to figure out ways to do things that I don't know. I mean, to be honest, it just don't make sense. But it's a different way to approach it. My thoughts looking at this are that the garage is. If he wants a sweet timber frame garage and looking at the condition of this place, just wait. If costs are a concern, just save your money. Well, wait. I can look at it. I can tell you need a new roof. The siding looks terrible. There's no foundation.
Yeah.
So you got some good framing.
So
that's worth saving.
Hold on. It's 22 by 35, and it's got a hip roof. It's like a real low slung garage. We have photos of it we can put up, and if you're watching the video, you can see it here on the TV behind us. But it looks like. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it needs new siding. It's certainly down at the bottom where it's really rotting away.
On grade.
But I don't understand the theory of if we're going to build a new structure inside of this structure.
Just build a new structure.
Then why not just build a new structure? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, all we're really saving on is what? The siding, which looks like it's not in great shape anyway. I don't think the savings is real here. That's what I'm trying to get at.
So, not crazy like a fox.
I don't think it's that much different to just build the structure you want. And I think it's a great idea to do the pier thing, the timber frame on piers, if it means that you're going to save money on a full foundation. Fantastic.
You mean when he tears this down?
Yeah. I mean, like that's a clever solution to, hey, maybe I don't want to pay a lot to have a new foundation poured. Cool. So you can do that work yourself, and that is a creative way to save money. I think I did ask him. I asked him where it was, Rob.
In fact, you
St.
can look
Paul,
at
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
You can look at some blog posts on our website called Patrick's Barn to see that he did that exactly.
Yeah, Patrick's been on the show many times, and we've mentioned his barn. We mentioned it in the tight wood stove discussion we had.
Yep.
He did this exact assembly. And who's the guy on Instagram that does this all the time? Is it RR Buildings?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that the handle? I think it's RR Buildings.
RR Buildings.
He does. I think he's in Pennsylvania, and he does pretty much exclusively pole barns and pole buildings. So those are two avenues that you can look into for ideas about how to kind of frame a modern post and beam using piers. But yeah, I just don't. And I get it. I mean, I'm in the same situation with my garage where for a while I was entertaining trying to work with what was there and kind of add a second story to it and et cetera, et cetera. And you start really, really taking a hard look at the math and not just, add in the cost of what it would take to, in time and effort, and then actual materials to do this crazy like a fox plan that you're thinking of. But then do the math of like, okay, now what's the difference for if I had to then put sheathing over this thing and then a new roof and new siding and some windows. And I mean, if the money is really that different that you're willing to do this crazy idea, then I guess go for it. But
it's not that type of structure too.
Really
I could
not.
understand like if it was.
That's what I was trying to
We were
describe.
kind of getting into the preservation mode where it was like a garage that was there was some kind of some architectural elements or a style or something about it that was actually worth like saving. And then you could kind of shore it up for a while as you restored it.
Right.
But that's not what this is.
It's not an old barn,
Yeah.
It's also kind of an odd timber frame shape. It would be an odd timber frame structure.
It would,
because of the low,
Yeah.
the low hip roof is. It's hard to tell from the angle of this photo, but I mean, it looks pretty low. The peak looks like a pretty low slope. I don't know.
Tear it down.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see it here, Jared. I think you gotta attach a rope to that divider between the two garage
And then
doors.
what's he got in the driveway here? Is that a little?
Yeah, whatever car you got, it looks
Yeah.
like it'll do the job. Just hook up to that, open both garage doors, wrap a rope around there. You want to tie probably like a bowline knot, I'm thinking, something like that. Does that sound right, Brian? Maybe a bowline half hitch.
Yeah.
And then you want to hook that up to your bumper, put it in low gear, the car. And then you want to drive slowly down away from the garage and yank that support out and just hope that the whole thing comes down. Mm-hmm. If you have any kids, make sure that they're in the house first. Pets, that kind of thing. Or in the car. I guess you'd be safe in the car. Another thing you could do is you might contact your local fire department and ask if they want to use it for practice. Some people do
Burn
that.
it?
Yeah. Actually, Myron
that?
Ferguson's son-in-law, I think. Myron Ferguson is a drywall author of ours. I think it was him. I think they were going to do a scrape off or something, get rid of a house, and they worked with the fire department to light it on fire and use it as a training.
And then did they?
I don't know.
Did they clean up the?
I don't know the details beyond that.
I wonder if he can still
I've heard-
collect insurance.
I've heard of that too, and I think they took care of like hauling the debris away.
Really?
I mean,
They need places to practice?
It'd be kind of a nightmare. Yeah, all right, clean up our.
We burned down your house.
we burned
for
down
you.
your house. Enjoy. Thanks.
It'd be kind of cool. It'd be a
Would
fun
be.
story.
Yeah,
Look at that place in the background, by the way. Did
I know.
you see that?
I was scoping that thing out.
What is this thing?
Look at those
Seriously,
chimneys. Get in here.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this clapboard siding, by the way? We don't see too much of that in this part of the country, but it's the clapboards that are completely flat and they have that little
chamfer on
that
there?
little chamfer that slides in. It's almost like a novelty siding. Also, why is Jared, do you have an addition on this garage?
Are you seeing where that?
It looks-
Yeah, I
it's-
wondered about that myself.
There's a vertical board. It looked like I thought it was a downspout, and the siding on either side of it looks different.
And the windows at a different height. The door in the first window are aligned in height, and then that back window is taller.
Yeah. This looks like a
Is
shit.
that where the foundation ends as well, or does it end earlier?
I don't know. I don't have
It's
any
hard to
interior
tell.
shots.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
This looks like a shit show, Jared. You should tear it down and redo it.
That's a definitive statement.
Yeah.
We got to do it once in a while.
You're gonna be so frustrated working on this thing. Just rip it down and have fun instead.
All right,
All right. I wanted to talk to you about my porch because I have a story.
rip it down.
So you guys know that I'm not. Sometimes I feel like it should be. So I don't typically work after hours anymore. I used to do that a lot.
After work.
I used to
the work day.
finish the day at the office and then go home and work on it. We got a picture of the porch up behind me. You guys have already seen this picture. It's from weeks ago when I was still in the middle of framing it. But the other night I got home and I was like, well, so we're doing an article on tying the new porch trim into the old house trim. And so I had one of our art guys over and we were taking photos, and then we had like a little post-shoot meeting where we decided what the article was going to include, and we all decided that it needed more of a finished shot. So basically what that means to me is Justin, kick it into high gear, get this thing wrapped up and painted so that we can take the photo we need in the next couple of weeks. So we got some weekends coming up here that I can work on it, but I wanted to get a jump on it. So the other night I came home from work and I wanted to get started on locating the round junction boxes for the lights in the ceiling of the porch. It's an open porch for anybody who hasn't seen the pictures of it, and we have photos on finehomebuilding.com/podcast. And so I decided it's going to be a beadboard ceiling, and I decided that I'm going to do 4 lights, and then in the center of those 4 lights, I'm going to leave one powered junction box ready for a ceiling fan if I decided at some point, hey, it would be cool to have a ceiling fan on this porch. Maybe if it ever gets enclosed or whatever, just leave yourself options, right? Or maybe I end up with one central light fixture or whatever. So I'm out there and I'm like, no big deal. I'm going to I just walk the dog, get ready for dinner. I'm going to quickly hang these 4 boxes where I want them, and then we'll be good to go for the weekend. I can start pulling wires. So 2 hours later, this thing is a nightmare. So 4 boxes, that's all I had to do. So, but for people who don't do this all the time, it's like the reality of what goes into something that simple. It was like just kind of an eye opener for me. I get into the porch, I get up on a ladder, and I'm looking at the rafters, and I'm going, I want these lights to be in a purposeful spot. I want them to be evenly spaced so that they're sort of they have an even spacing around them, and they should be in line with each other because I'm going to have beadboard ceiling, and if those cutouts are not in line, it's going to be obvious. So I'm pulling the tape measure from this way and then that way and then this way and trying to figure out, like, the house is not square. The porch is framed to work with the house. So I'm trying to be like, what is my reference point here? And then I'm pulling it, and then I'm trying to get the blocking in between, of course, because these boxes are never going to actually land on a rafter. It's always like right between two rafters that you want it to be. So then you got to put little cross pieces of blocking, fasten those. I'm dropping screws. I'm up and down the ladder. I'm moving ladders. I got 2 ladders. Then the sun goes down, so I got to get a light out, and I'm hooking that. And it's like, and then I finally get them nailed in and tweaked. I nailed one on the wrong side of the piece of blocking. I put one piece of blocking on the wrong side of the marked line. It was just going horrible. like the one night I decided I'm going to work after work, and I was like, why am I doing this? So I finally get all 4 of those lights up. I get the special reinforced ceiling fan box up there
with spreader
with little arms that go between, so you can adjust that. I climb down, and I climb down off the ladders. I stand back in the yard, and I look at it, and I go, nope, totally wrong. After all that time up on the ladder. Like,
you mean the placement was wrong?
Yeah. I was up on the ladder, and I was struggling to be like, well, maybe I want it to be like 2 feet from the perimeter, like set in 2 feet from the beam and from the sides. And then maybe 30 inches would look better. And I did this all from up on the ladder, and in my head, I'm going like, I don't know what's going to look right. Does that look right? Is that too tight? Is that too far, too close to the edges? And for whatever idiot reason, I never thought to myself, hey, moron, climb down the ladder and stand in front of the porch and look at it. Because as soon as I did that, it was so obvious that the lights should be aligned with the freaking windows that are below them. And I just wasted like 2 hours. And it was just like, it was such an eye-opener to me to, like, when you're working on old houses, stop every once in a while and stand back and look at what you're doing. Before you put, 50 nails in that piece of trim, put 2 in, and then climb down the ladder and look at it and go, hey, that would look better if it wasn't dead level, if I cheated it and made it match that other piece. Or if I had just, put 2 pieces of blue tape where I wanted lights to be, and then I stood back and went, does that look right before I nail these things on? And it's just a cautionary tale I wanted to share with my tail tucked between my legs. We are mere mortals here too.
Don't work when you're tired.
Don't work when you're tired, and don't think you ever have it all figured out, because even guys who do this all the time are still doing this kind of thing and slapping their forehead after and going, stupid. Should have done it better and different. But anyway, the porch is coming along nice. I'm going to make a big push this weekend. Hopefully get the beadboard ceiling up and the rest of the trim, and maybe even get some painting in.
Yeah, so you're pretty close.
Getting there.
The roof is tight, right? It's all
the roof is tight. The box gutter is in
and working because we've had some rain.
We've had some rain for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely functioning. I'm still nervous about when winter comes, when things freeze. I sort of have switched to like thinking of it as an if and when it leaks, what am I going to do? Because look, I mean, it's an unconditioned porch. There's no finished living space. There's no finished surfaces below it. If it does leak, it's not going to ruin my life. So I'm willing to take this risk, especially it's on my own house. So I'm willing to kind of roll the dice and go, is this assembly, does this make sense? How would I do it differently next time?
And the vulnerable part is going to be that downspout, you think?
It's the connection from the trough to the downspout.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's all gonna where it can all go
blow up.
That's where it can all go wrong, really. Because freezing and expansion and contraction and when that downspout backs up and freezes, I'm just not sure what's gonna happen. And it's easy to go, that's going to leak. For sure. But maybe it'll be fine. I don't know. Kind of wish I'd made it out of copper after all this. I went aluminum, lead, copper. Then I went back to copper and aluminum. Even the day that I put it in, I had both aluminum and lead right there in front of me. And I still hadn't decided.
But not copper.
But not copper. Because I already had the aluminum downspout in, and I was worried about rain hitting the copper and copper leaching into and corroding the aluminum pipe, which and now in retrospect I'm like, I should just like poured a can of paint down the downspout and coated the inside of it or something. I could have just freaking put copper in this thing and been done. Soldered those joints up nice.
Well, it's looking good, man.
Yeah. looking good until it leaks. What are you guys working on? Anything?
Nope.
No? It's outside time of year for
It's
you,
outside
Brian.
time.
Little veggie garden.
Not veggies, but I've been doing some gardening.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got a lot of outdoor work to do, but I haven't gotten to it. Got like mega pruning to do. But I'm gonna do some demo coming up pretty soon here.
Upstairs?
Yeah, upstairs.
Really?
I've got that one.
Is that phase 1?
Phase 1. Yeah, of the roof dormers and re-roofing is the demo of that bedroom.
Oh, the one.
It's gonna get
space.
There's so again, I've got a cape, and upstairs half the house is essentially an open attic, and the other third, I guess let's call it, is kind of a finished bedroom. It has a weird layout, and I'm gonna have to take down the ceiling anyway. I'm gonna raise the ceiling. Got to take down the ceiling on the front wall. I'm just gonna demo it.
Demo was the worst. Was that you I was talking to the other day about old houses? It might have been Brian, where I was saying that I think if I got another old house, I would just pay somebody to come in and demo the whole, like just
gut it.
Yeah, because that's the worst part. It's just have somebody come in, like, you know, a half dozen high school kids with whatever. They don't even really know anything. I'll shut off all the power and turn off all the water so they can't really cause too much damage, and just have them take out all the plaster. Just get it all out of here, and then I'll come through the shop vac, and then it's like a brand new job.
I've already screwed up, by the way, because I'm doing this work. I'm starting this work like tonight.
Oh.
Haven't got a dumpster yet. I can't get a dumpster until tomorrow afternoon.
Don't start tonight. Just wait. You want to move stuff twice.
How are you
That's
gonna?
just.
What's your game plan for getting it out of the house and into the dumpster? You should get a chute going.
Yeah, you should get a shoot going.
I was getting a shoot going. I was getting a shoot going into
Hold
the.
on, let's talk about the chute design.
Into the bed of the truck. Well, I've seen a sweet chute design.
I've never made a chute before.
Either have I. I've seen a sweet chute with a
Whole rest of the show,
huge, like, it must have been a 24-inch concrete form tube. You know what I mean? That was sweet.
That's smart.
Patrick's like, those things are too expensive, though.
Yeah, they are.
I was like, but it looks perfect.
Yeah,
looks like
plus
it's
where you
supposed to be a demo shoot.
Where are you gonna find it too?
Yeah, that's true.
Some people take buckets and stack them and cut the bottoms off, so it creates like this long nesting thing. I would just make like a half trough, you know, like a long
like
2x
plywood
of some
and-
kind, and make a U-shaped piece of plywood.
I'm wondering how much I should demo too. Well,
Start cutting down the demo,
well,
or you just chuck it out the window. I've done that.
yeah, I'm thinking about checking right out the
And then you
window.
pick it up outside.
Are there any windows that are that are going? Can you
Now
can you
there are.
make a
That I'm
that you're actually going to be taking out of the house?
no,
No. Okay.
nope. I could pop the sashes though.
Yeah, make that opening big and
Yeah.
big as
It's gonna
possible.
be a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Patrick said. I mean, it's a demo. It's always going to be a
Not if
nightmare
you hire
on
a bunch of high school kids.
some level. That's what I should do.
Get Brian's kid over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you want some work for the weekend? Nice long Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, he'll be there at 2.
Right. He'll work for an hour and a
He'll be there
half.
at 2 in the afternoon.
Hey man, I gotta
He'll be there, and then he'll want some
bail.
lunch.
I gotta bail. I'm meeting some friends by the river.
Just wander off at some point.
Yeah. So I'll let you know how it goes Monday.
Dad, I can't do it this weekend. I'm working on a new beat. Laying down a new track. So we got another question from Rob. By the way, before we move on past that, are you able to grab a couple of photos of the unfinished portion of your attic area so we can see those?
Yeah.
You have like a big chimney running down the center of it, right?
Yeah, kinda.
Is that going to be left exposed in your plan?
No.
So you're screwing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely should be leaving that exposed. Is this still leaking? Or did you get the
No, not
roof
really.
leak settled?
I don't know what happened there. That's what I have to do. I have got
Clogged
to,
itself.
I have got to get photos of this chimney flashing that's on my house. It's horrible.
What about the vent pipe with the big low spot? in
Yeah,
it?
there's that too. I'll take pictures of all this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Horror show pictures. That's what we
Yeah.
want. We want to see everybody send in pictures of things that are hilariously done by previous people in your houses.
Yeah.
I have allowed a leak to self-repair before.
My chimney is still
Give
leaking.
it long enough, and it will.
It sure
My
will.
chimney's been leaking for roughly 3 years now. And I cannot.
And you've put some effort against it.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, but yeah, like you repointed it, reflashed it.
I think it's
put
just
a new cap on it.
I think it's just a winter thing. And that's what I'm realizing is that I'm narrowing it down to I think it's really just ice dam backup related because it's sitting in a valley. I think that's what's going on. It's building. It's because when a heavy rainstorm, it's not a super problem. It's when there's snow and rain or snow and melting, and I think it's because it's piling and then pushing under the shingles.
When you have a fire, it's melting that.
I'm not
It's melting that
shingle
it's melting
thing,
that
guys.
snow.
It just seems like the wrong way to go.
Shingles.
Yeah. Why? I mean, you know, my weather goes backwards. It goes up. So I need to protect against that too. And this roll roofing that I've been putting on the porch roof, I mean, you lay that stuff down and you're like, this is sweet.
Yeah.
Old roofing.
It's so easy to work with. It's so sticky. And like, come on. It's so cheap too. You roll it out, it's like,
How much is it?
maybe it's not that cheap, but
Like
a square of underlayment, or sorry, the underlayment, the peel and stick base sheet, if you use that, you don't have to. You can either do 1 layer, 2 layer, or 3 layer assembly of the GAF product. There's a base sheet that you nail down that's not sticky, so that you can then stick your other stuff to it and later rip it up.
Tear off.
I
Okay.
didn't do that because I couldn't find that stuff at my yard.
So it's a substrate. It's a surface.
It's like a
I
slip
think it's
sheet
like
almost.
Yeah, it's like a slip sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can do this peel and stick underlayment, which is 2 squares in a roll, which is 200 square feet. And that was 100 and low 100, I think,
For 2 square?
for 2 square of underlayment. And it's really nice to work with. Thick and super tenacious, but it's easier to work with in Grace, peel and stick, for sure. And then on top of that is this granular rollout roofing. And that was about the same price, but you get a square instead of 2 square. So
So $100.
so it's like, it
So
depends.
double the price.
So twice the price.
Well, well, no, because you're not factoring in underlayment in your price, because you got to buy underlayment for shingle roof too. So
no,
if
you
didn't
said
do,
you said that this is about the same price.
no,
for 1
if
square.
you did a conventional underlayment and then you did a roll roofing over it, it would be like $100 a square, which is about what roof shingles cost too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't sound convinced.
No.
Roof shingles are like $33 for a bundle, and there's 3 bundles in a square usually.
Okay.
Why? What? It's $99, Brian. Whatever. Hold on, let me get my.
What are we doing next?
Are we
Wait,
going
hold
on? We going on now? Another question?
What's that, Brian?
Are we moving on now?
Yes. All right, so we got a question from Soames. He wrote to us, after mainlining a massive amount of the podcast, I'm reaching out in hopes of getting a small amount of your time to discuss my current project. I thought that I might submit a question for the podcast, but I'm up against a tight schedule, so not sure I can wait for you guys to cover it on the show. I'm remodeling my house and moving quickly toward my rough inspection, and we'll be ready to get insulation going, so time is of the essence. Well, this is Soames' lucky day, because we have decided to break our usual convention and just give him a ring. So we've got him on the phone. Soames, say hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. And you are coming to us from California, right?
Correct. Eastern Sierras, Mammoth Lakes.
Jeez, that's tough. What, 8,500 foot elevation? Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, that's where the house sits, is at 8,500 feet.
And Soames sent a couple of pictures, actually sent a lot more than a couple, pictures of his project that he's working on. You are not doing the work. You have a builder working with you?
No, I'm the builder.
Oh, okay. Even better. That is an impressive amount of snow on your roof. What?
Yeah, I think at the highest count, we were about 7.5 feet on the garage roof at one point. It was just almost 3 months of nonstop shoveling.
Good
Wow.
Lord.
So is that typical for out your way, or has this been a pretty crazy season?
No, this was an exceptional season. I think it was the largest winter since 1969.
Wow.
Brian, did you see the siding on it there? It looks like he's got
I
what's
did.
Soames? Is that you got like galvanized corrugated siding?
It's corrugated. It's not galvanized. It's Core 10.
Super cool looking.
But
Yeah.
when it's delivered from the factory, it's got a thin film of oil on it, so it doesn't rust really fast up here since we're so low humidity.
Yeah.
I love what you did. If I'm seeing this correctly in the photo, I love what you did with this I-beam that's supporting your porch roof. The way if like I said, if I'm seeing this right, you cut it on kind of an angle to sort of get the same effect as a rafter tail.
Correct.
That's
so
great.
There's some details around town where those kind of I-beams with the back cut or the front cut has been put in. So I kind of copied some different things around so it fits into the surrounding areas, architecturally.
Yeah.
So it
Looks
looks
cool.
like you cut the end to make it look like a pergola beam, right? Am I looking at that right?
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's just I just came up with the drawing and had the steel fabricator cut it back and notch it. And there's also the same detail for the deck in the back of the house, which I don't think there's any pictures of that.
Okay, so give us the quick rundown of what we're up against here, what the question is.
Well, so here's where I'm at. The house has been, as you can see, pulled fairly well apart, and I have an option right now to do some kind of newer insulation detail.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem that we have up here is that, the older house, the attic gets really, really hot because of heating, and then we get a water runoff, kind of a sandwich in between the roof and the snow.
Right.
And there's not a lot of room to work up in the attic. But with this opportunity now, maybe there's something different that can be done than just putting fiberglass bats up there.
So is what state? So you have an existing house. It looks like you changed the main roof line a little bit, and you also expanded the garage, right? Am I getting the rough scope?
No. The original roof is the same.
Okay.
6 and 12 on one side and 3 and 12 on the side that sheds onto the new garage roof.
Okay. And what is the slope of the garage roof?
Approximately 1.5 and 12.
So we basically got a big low slope roof on the main house dumping onto a big lower slope roof over the garage.
Correct.
Okay. And then a lot of snow.
Right.
So what's the current state of the interior of the main house? Is the ceiling opened up? Do you have access?
It is. We're still in sticks on the inside.
Okay.
And when the roof is done, then the next step is to do insulation.
Okay.
And is there a roof on the house now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And what is the roof?
Well, the roof's dried in right now. It's sheeted and waterproof, but the new roof will be a industrial standing seam roof.
And what's it?
So there's not roofing material up
That's
yet.
cool.
That's good. That might open some possibilities for you.
Is
Yeah.
it? What is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it sealed with? What's the roof sealed with?
Well, I mean, we call it bitchethane here, but I don't know the exact name of the product. It's a sheet product that's peel and stick.
Is it the same stuff you have all over your walls? The blue?
No.
Okay.
The Henry Blue Skin is the semi-permeable membrane,
Right.
and the roofing material is like a rollout kind of rubbery tar material,
Right. Okay.
like similar to like fire and ice,
Gotcha. Ice and water.
ice and water.
I like fire and ice though. So
So you had mentioned something that I maybe because inherently it's an older home, but you had talked about the attics getting really hot and really warm and then melting that snow layer, causing the ice dams. Is that something that you've already planned to address through either improved air sealing or?
before we go to that, Rob, can I ask
Sure.
another question? Because you're under construction, at what point did you have the ice dam problem? Was it, was your ceiling gutted inside? Like, was the roof open and perhaps that's where you were? I'm trying to rule out whether this was just a temporary problem because you were under construction,
I
or
gotcha.
if this happened before you dropped the ceiling inside.
Right. So the ceiling inside wasn't dropped until 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, and so
And this has been a problem always, actually.
okay?
Yeah.
So is this why you dropped the ceiling? This wasn't part of your plan.
No, one of the reasons for dropping the ceiling was to update the material of one of the portions of the living space, and another in the master bedroom upstairs was dropped for electrical and new lighting.
Okay, and
So
And is the roof or sorry, the ceiling of the garage at this point finished, or did I already ask that?
No, you didn't ask that, but it is finished.
Okay, so that's all.
We got out of sequence because of the weather.
And what's the insulation there, or is it not conditioned?
I had to pull the trigger quickly this winter to get it done. So the garage is just done in fiberglass bat.
Okay. And is it a conditioned garage? You have heat flowing in there, or?
No.
Okay. So why did you insulate it if it is not conditioned? Just in case you decide later to add heat, or
cost was minimal.
Okay. So
there's and for code purposes, putting the insulation into the ceiling space of the garage prevented me from having to put a crawl space access.
Got it.
In the trusses of the garage.
Okay, so now I'm caught up. I think anybody else have any details they have questions about before we get into some troubleshooting? Everybody good?
He had mentioned something that you dropped that ceiling in the living space for a material change. So what do you mean?
Yeah, there was an older tongue and groove, kind of rough sawn pine.
Was there anything behind that?
Replaced with a more modern reclaimed wood kind of effect.
Did you have anything behind that tongue and groove?
There was not anything behind that tongue and groove.
There's your ice dams.
So it's getting drywalled.
Part of it.
Yeah. So you had major air leakage going up into your attic assembly, and that's going to be obviously you probably already know that's a huge part of why you were getting ice dams. The other things to consider here are that you have a phenomenal amount of snow, more snow than most people in this country are ever going to have to worry about. So you have kind of an interesting. It's really interesting is that the places where these tongue and groove ceilings are most popular seem to be the areas of the country that get hammered with the most snow. So it's like this perfect storm of aesthetic taste and, terrible conditions. Just this perfect storm of nightmare ice damming. But, Soames, what did you mentioned that in your email to me that you kind of had some plans in place. When you were pricing this whole thing out and you were approaching this whole project, did you just kind of figure on doing fiberglass in the main roof, or what was your plan?
Yeah, that was the main plan, was to get the tongue and groove down, air seal better, by using drywall, rough installation, and then reapplying the wood. Mm-hmm. But the more I started thinking about it, I think that maybe some kind of application on the roof deck with spray foam or something might be a better route to go.
Okay.
And there's one other consideration.
Yeah.
We have, for ventilation purposes here in California, we have to deal with WUI, which is the wildland urban interface. And so vents have to be of a special type that won't allow sparks to come into the inside of the house, whether that's subfloor or attic space.
Right.
And we don't really use ridge vents very much, so mostly it's really large gable vents.
Okay. Really large gable vents that are fed by what? Oh, really large gable vents. I'm sorry. I was thinking ridge vents.
Yeah. And they're big because the WUI requirements, because they're restrictive, to get the amount of air to go through them, they have to be large.
Okay.
And if I can get rid of those and maybe do something, unventilated attic space, that might be an option.
Yeah.
And be able to kill two birds with one stone, air seal the whole attic space and eliminate the heat up issue all at the same time.
How many inches of space do we have for spray foam if you were to go that route?
In the bay, like up in the bays?
Yeah, in the roof rafters.
Shoot, I don't know what that top cord is.
He says he has scissor trusses, right?
You have scissor truss roof?
2x4s.
Yeah, it's a scissor truss roof.
Okay, so down near the eaves, it's going to be
pinched.
It's going to be a lot pinched there. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about spray foam?
Yeah. It depends how much you can get in.
Yeah. I mean, if you know that you can get enough spray foam in there to eliminate the chance of ice dams, then yeah.
So this whole,
I get it. It's certainly a popular solution to
for
this
sure.
problem.
This whole concept and this whole new kind of element to the conversation about wildfire protection and venting.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of poking around some of the articles that we worked on with Joe Stieberg from Building Science, and talk about detailing roofs for areas with heavy snow loads. Is that air sealing insulation is important, but so is ventilation. And so in really heavy snow load country, he actually tends to spec what he calls an over roof. And so that's where you kind of detail your roof assembly conventionally, but you actually almost double up your sheathing. So for instance, Soames has a kind of a weather tight roof right now. He could, again, not taking into consideration the wildfire codes up there, put a really big vent channel up there and then sheathe again. So you almost have, like, for instance, Joe specs 2x4 on edge. So you get lots of ventilation beneath that outer layer, because one thing that's happening, and I think Soames even mentioned it, is when you get lots of snow load on that roof deck, it actually insulates itself. It warms the sheathing to a point where the first couple of inches of snow and the bottom layers of snow start to melt. And then that's where you get like the water running off and then freezing once it hits an eave. But if you could ventilate that outer roof deck and keep that sheathing freezing cold, you're not going to get that melting,
And that's kind of the standard convention, old school here, is that you'd have a lot of vents and you would flush as much cold air into the attic space as you could, so you weren't heating up the roof deck.
Right.
Right.
And so are you not liking that idea?
I mean, I'm not opposed to trying something different on the roof deck and keeping it ventilated better. And then maybe just going back to a fiberglass bat or a blown-in insulation, air sealing the ceiling area in the upstairs really, really well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then protecting those, well, I guess how you would do it with the scissor truss is, one thing is to protect those eave edges from wind washing. So you could do that with rigid baffles or whatever.
And can you explain wind washing, Rob, for people who
So
don't know
wind
that term?
washing is like it's a concern with fibrous insulation, like a bat product or a blown-in product.
But he won't have vents there. He won't have intakes at the eaves, right? If he's got gable
I would
vents.
think not.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the other factor too.
Because it would
is
just
that,
be a sealed cavity with a 2x4 on end.
yeah.
I don't think that's going to work. A sealed
Yeah.
cavity with a tube. You need ventilation.
Yeah.
What are the options for the WUI regulations for? Can you have any sort of soffit vents? It's just like a special kind of sealed against spark soffit vents.
You can do soffit vents. They're just the WUI style, but I don't think we're in a place at this point in construction now to switch to a soffit vent.
Okay.
I'm pretty far down the path that it's going to have to be gable vents or non-ventilated.
But I think we're talking, maybe I'm confused, but I think we're talking about two different things. Like, we're not, at this point, with the over roof.
Mm-hmm. Treat that completely independently.
There's not, you were talking about wind washing for fibrous insulation, but in that area, this is basically now outside of the building
Yeah,
envelope.
Right, but he still needs to vent that thing.
Right, but wind washing is not going to be a
wind
concern.
washing is not a concern because that's not where
It's
his
not
insulation layer is.
It's not at that point a vented attic space.
Right, but he does still need to have intakes and exhaust on that over
Right, but
roof.
I wonder, though, if that's different than the wildfire.
I wonder.
Because nothing's going to get into the house,
Yeah,
right?
but it's still.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, that'll be up to your local building inspector, maybe.
Yeah, worth asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of a cold roof in this situation. It seems like you're at the ideal point where you can still make it happen without too much hassle. Like the roof is dried in, but it's not done.
Yeah.
And that would just be, you might have to undo some roof edge trim and figure out how to make it look good. But I mean, I like based on how much snow you get, I like the idea of dealing with this from the outside rather than going to spray foam on the inside.
Yeah.
So can I ask about the over roof? Does that have to be ventilated?
Yes.
For sure. That's the intent of it,
Yeah.
really.
Basically, let me see here. I'm looking up. Do you have it pulled up there? Do you want to just give them the kind of the high points of it?
Yeah. I
the
mean,
idea is to, obviously, like you said, to wash cold air across the surface of the deck, but
yeah, so essentially, I mean, this is a little bit of a modified detail that I'm looking at right now from Joe, where he's got some exterior rigid foam. But essentially what he has is a 2x4 on its edge, and what he's using is a kind of a metal kind of bracket to attach those 2x4s to the roof deck. And then fastened to the top edge of the 2x4, he'll have another piece of sheathing. And then you could you could kind of roof that sheathing conventionally, whether it's roofing underlayment and asphalt shingles, or if you want to use a metal roof. But it's that big 3.5-inch air gap that is going to keep that outer layer of sheathing super cold.
And how does he have it ventilated? At the
eaves.
At the eaves.
Has he cleverly skipped that
Come
construction
on,
detail?
come on, it's building science, man. It's all
Yeah.
theoretical. I've heard that people have gotten custom fabricated like drip edges, but again, this wildfire code is going to throw a little wrench in the works. I don't know what that kind of stuff looks like. I don't know if I don't know if you can modify soffit venting for it.
The reason why I'm sorry that I didn't have this on hand that I'm trying to look up is I can't remember. There's two layers in that cold roof. You know, there's if you put the wrong kind of membrane in the wrong spot, it can cause real problems. And I don't want to just speak out of turn without remembering which one has to go where. I'm trying to look it up. It's something that I learned when we were dealing with SIP roofs, that you need to worry about permeability in one spot.
Like have a vapor open membrane on the let's call it the primary roof deck.
And that's why I was asking about the membrane that you already have on your roof zones.
Yeah. So I have a question, though. I want to back up one thing about the elevated roof. Or
Yep.
Cold roof.
if you filled that cavity with a non-permeable foam and just made it almost like a very thick zip sheet, would that still need to be ventilated?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to do with that over roof is actually introduce cold air into beneath the outer roof assembly, so that
I see, okay.
So that the air temperature, so that that roof sheathing does not get warm. It is being cooled from beneath, so that the thick layer of snow above is not melting itself. You're trying to
Understood.
You're trying to prevent that melting.
So it still requires diligent air sealing and a lot of insulation in the house, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of houses with where their attics are essentially unconditioned space and it's freezing in the attics in the winter still get ice dams from heat and air leakage.
So you still have to hit those primary kind of performance functions. So super airtight, which it sounds like you're on the right track. So make that the ceiling of your house airtight, insulate it really well. It's really looking at this outer roof as kind of an independent element,
Yeah. I think most experts are going to say that the first and foremost thing in a situation like this is that there's no air leaks, right? That is number one, taken care of, done. Like, be really super diligent about the air sealing. Next thing would be how much would be your thermal layer, and make sure you have the enough.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot if you really want to prevent ice dams in this situation. It's going to be pretty.
Yep.
It's not going to be an R40 roof. It's going to be more, right?
Yeah, I think though that you want that base layer under the cold roof to be permeable, though. That's what I'm worried about, and there's something that to check into there, Soames, is the permeability.
Okay.
The permeability of that initial layer of waterproofing between the house and that cavity that's under the cold roof. At least in SIPs and SIP panels, structural insulated panels, I think they recommend using good old felt paper there because it changes its variability. And something like Triflex Extreme, like a regular synthetic underlayment can actually can defeat the purpose of what you're doing. But that may apply just to SIPs. And I admit to not being an expert in this area. The folks at Green Building Advisor can be a huge help in that regard, or buildingscience.com. But hopefully that helps. What's up, Rob?
Back to your point, Brian, about how to detail the eaves. What you could do if you do choose to use those 2x4s on edge to create that channel for the over roof is to run those 2x4s a little bit longer than the main roof, and then just put a fascia on the ends of the 2x4s, and then maybe put a conventional soffit vent beneath that.
Right, so you're kind of hiding in the gap.
Yeah, you're hiding in the
Yeah.
gap.
It looks like a shadow line.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's some really people often frown at the idea of like putting either a lot of foam on their roof, even for a traditional house, or for doing this over roof. But because it's going to look weird along the edges. But with the right trim proportions, you can make it. No one will even know.
You could probably make it mimic what he's doing
Yeah,
on the rake edge of the garage here.
It'll almost look like a double rake kind of
Yeah.
detail.
He's already got a sub fascia.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not sub fascia.
Absolutely. And the upper roof has to be detailed still.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
this is the time that an over roof could be done and not have to do a lot of work, extra work.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
right.
it seems like that's going to be a good solution for you.
And it doesn't seem right. It's not an expensive one because it's framing. It's 2x4s and
Yeah.
Sheathing. Yeah.
You got the roofing you're putting down anyway.
Yeah.
So
You're just paying for
It's
a little bit
time.
extra roof structure. Does that sound good,
And a
Soames?
little modification of a couple bathroom vents, some venting stuff just needs to be extended, but that doesn't seem like a big deal.
Yep.
well, I can't wait to hear what you decide to do.
Yeah, just in the nick of time. Can you make sure to send us some photos and let us know how it's going?
Absolutely, gentlemen.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks so much for the time. You guys have a great week.
You too.
You too. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. You guys want to wrap up?
Yeah.
Save the day.
It is.
Sorry.
I can't wait for people to see like these photos because the amount of sno that we're talking about here,
It's something.
it's
I mean, what did you say,
crazy.
7 feet?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so
I hope
crazy.
Soames
Yeah.
likes to ski.
Man.
Because if he does, he had a hell of a winter.
For sure.
I know that people might not think this is relevant, but he's a very extreme example. But I mean, everywhere, kind of the upper half of the country, this is a relevant detail that can
Yeah.
be really helpful for people who are having trouble. It doesn't.
Upstate-
It's
forgot
not
to ask
Upstate New
limited.
York.
I wanted to ask him about the roof pitches. I forgot to ask him that.
He said it.
No, not what his are, but they seem like pretty low, slow pitches for such a high snow load. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most, a lot of times when you get into areas like that, you start to see things like A-frames with really extreme pitches.
Can you imagine what the engineering must have been for these roofs? Like when you're planning for 7
Yeah.
feet of snow.
I think
Yeah.
he's also working within the confines of an existing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
But
just
maybe he
curious
could have
about
blown
the
that
other
roof off
houses.
and gotten it steeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have looked like a ski chalet or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to wrap us up for this week. If you have questions or topics that you'd like to hear us discuss on an upcoming show, shoot us an email, fhbpodcast@taunton.com. Maybe we'll call you. Who knows? Also, if you like the show, hop onto iTunes, share the love with a rating and review. And don't forget, this is grassroots, so we like it when you tell some friends and help us spread the word. It really helps. Until next time, this is Justin for Rob and Brian saying, happy building.